Welcome to the SBI Podcast, offering CEOs, sales and marketing leaders ideas to make the number.
Welcome, SBI Podcast listeners and video podcast viewers. My name is Greg Alexander, and I am the CEO of SBI, a sales and marketing company dedicated to helping you make your number. This is the weekly SBI Podcast, and its purpose is simple: to help you make your number by getting your peers to share with you how they make theirs. Today's guest is Elisa Fink, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Tableau, the company that lets you see and understand data. By using their products, you can create and publish dashboards and share them with others across all platforms without any programming experience needed. The company is growing very quickly with a projected 2015 revenue of $600 million and approximately 3,000 employees. Elisa has been with the company for 8 years and has almost 30 years of business experience, according to her LinkedIn profile. Elisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. God, 30 years. That sounds really old.
I was looking at your work history, and I just reverse engineered it, and yes, it is 30 years. Time goes by quick.
It does, doesn't it? It's incredible.
It does.
I've already been at Tableau 8 years. I can't believe that either. So.
Yeah. Okay, today we're going to ask Elisa to help her peers, other CMOs, set their companies up for success by demonstrating how to create and distribute compelling content. Why have we chosen this topic today? The amount of content in front of your target customers and prospects has exploded recently. And to get the ear of your prospective buyer, you need a significant amount of compelling content. It's a little bit of an arms race, and relevancy is key. Keeping up with the insatiable demand of quality content is a problem for many of our listeners. We are going to use SBI's revenue growth methodology, a section of it, to guide our conversation, specifically pages 124 and 125. So if you're following along, at home, and you want to download a copy of our methodology, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report. Elisa, you ready to go?
I am.
All right, my first question for you.
Yes.
What are the content goals for your marketing team?
Well, I guess you can think about the goals in two ways. One is, what is our goal for the reader or for the recipient? And then what is our goal for Tableau and what we're trying to accomplish? And those two things better be in sync. The first one for the reader or for the recipient is make me smarter. I mean, we really try to sit down and think about all of our content, our website. You know what? Make me smarter. When you come to our website, when you read a white paper, when you watch a video, when you attend a webinar, when you come to an event of ours, we want you to walk out going, God, that company just made me smarter. I'm better at my job. I'm better at life because of Tableau, because we believe if you believe that, you'll be more likely to receive our messages with a favorable light and more likely to engage with us because we made you smarter. Second, on the other side of that is the goals we have for our content, and that is that, yes, of course, it has to be attractive, like I just said, make me smarter for the recipient. But also, we want it to be highly engaging. We want people to share it. We want people to engage with us after they engage with the content. So we look for what are our pieces of content that get the highest views? Are people staying with it? Are they reading the whole thing? Are they experiencing the whole thing? Are they then sharing it? Is it then having a multiplication effect? Is the content that good? And then, of course, does the person take activity after that? What is happening after that? Are they reading our content or checking out our content and leaving, never to hear from us again or never to hear from them again? Or are they actually saying, yeah, you know what, I want to do business with Tableau, or I want to know more, I want to engage more. I either want to read another piece of content, see another piece of content, or I want to engage with a salesperson. So those are some of our major goals around content. And again, we believe that those are very important. And if you have one side of those but not the other side, you don't actually have either side.
Yeah.
So we're really focused on great content for the participant, and great content for us makes a great piece of content.
So I love hearing your answer, and I will tell you that I believe you're accomplishing your goals. I mean, in preparation for this interview, I went out to your site and I tried to read some of your content because I knew this was a topic we were going to speak about. And I can honestly say, given your field of expertise, I learned a whole bunch of things. So I met the criteria of getting a little smarter.
Good. And hopefully you feel a little more positive about Tableau.
Yeah, no question, yeah. And for those that are listening and watching, if you want an example of effective content marketing, just go out to tableau.com and check it out, and you can see, how this is done correctly.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's hard, and we don't do everything perfect, and I'm sure there are plenty of examples where it's like, ugh. But, you got to keep that goal in mind and execute as best you can, as much as you can, and as fast as you can.
All right, so let me ask you a second question. So I understand your content goals for marketing. What are the content goals for your sales team? Are they different or are they the same?
Well, you know what? Yeah, in a lot of ways they're the same. We do think about, is this piece of content something that a salesperson can share to engage a customer, directly? So we look for content that is going to feel like it's very relevant to a persona or a particular problem or situation, or even both of those things, a problem or situation of a particular persona, so that when a sales rep is on the phone or engaging with someone, one of their target audience members, we want them to feel like this piece of content is so right for that person that they share it, and the person immediately is like, I get why you shared this. Not only do I get why you shared this, but I see you get me, and now I want to talk to you. So we do work pretty hard to make sure the content maps to the persona, to the problem or situation the persona is in, and then even along the sales cycle. There are certain pieces of content that don't make sense early in the sales cycle, but make more sense later in the sales cycle.
Yeah.
And so we look at our content in those dimensions to see if to make sure that when a salesperson uses it to engage directly, they can do that and do it with confidence. So we do spend a good amount of time making sure we have great content for our sales reps, and then we want to enable them as well. So we also work with some social tools and some ways of sharing content that make it easy for our sales reps to share content. We also want to make sure that they have the facts and summaries of what this content is, so that when they call back to ask questions about it, they can quickly remember, oh yeah, I sent this and this is what it was about, and these are some key questions. And then also we keep track of the kinds of content that we marketing send to people, so that our salespeople know, they're not replicating, they're not sending you another dashboards paper that you just read 3 weeks ago because you downloaded off of our website. So we work to make sure that we're delivering stuff that the salespeople can use that is of value in a very personal, relevant way, and is not a repeat of what you've already seen.
Yep. So in your first two answers here, what I loved about them the most was it's very outward in, and what I mean by that is you're always, when you're answering my questions based on the wants, needs, and desires, the information needs of your target audience, which is a great lead-in.
We really try to think that way.
Yeah. My next question, which is a lead into that, is, and I'm anticipating a great answer here, so I'm adding pressure to you. So let's talk about how your audience consumes content. So I don't know, when, where, and how do your target audience consume content?
That is a great question. I think one of the things we've aspired to do as well is, I'll tell my team this, and we talk about this, is that different people like to receive content in different ways. And so we will sometimes, with a particularly great piece of content, figure out a way to make it digestible in a slide share versus a full-length white paper versus a blog piece versus a little video versus, a webinar. So we actually try to tune into the type of channel that you like. Do you like radio? Do you like TV? Do you like movies? Do you like newspaper, magazines? What have you? We try to tune into your preference and produce content across the different types so that it's the kind of content you like to consume. So, for me, I have my own office, so I can often watch a quick video, but I don't really have time to watch an hour webinar. I'd rather read a summary of the webinar or see highlights or something like that. Whereas people some people earlier in their career that are in cubes, sometimes watching a video is really distracting to other people around you. So you want to read bullets, or you want to read a blog post, or you want to print out a white paper. So we try to again, thinking about people's the recipients' preferences. We try to make it useful. Now, that being said, we do see some really important trends. I mean, video is getting consumed at a greater and greater rate. They can't be particularly long. They have to be 2 to 3 minutes, unless it's really deep content sharing. So people will sit in for a webinar or watch a recorded webinar if it's right on target, or they'll watch training materials, again, right on target. But video is getting more and more popular. We're seeing our blog, the greater we uplift the content in the blog, for example, the more reads we see of our blog, the less it's about us and more about them, the more reads we see. So we see a lot of short pieces, but still pieces that have substance, getting read quite a bit as well. White papers are less so that way. I mean, I think there's a special audience that wants depth with a white paper. So prepare it for that. I think that people are so busy that sometimes the long forms just they don't have time for them like they used to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. In fact, your answer reminds me of my friend Andrew, who is the SVP of marketing at Autodesk. And Andrew was interviewed for an article in the SBI magazine titled Connect Through Content, which was published in our Q3 edition. I'm going to hold it up here for the audience. You and Andrew have a lot in common, so those listening to our conversation will want to read this article. So let's take a short break and let the audience understand how they can get a copy. So we'll be right back.
Making your number is hard. Your problems are complex. Complex problems need complex solutions. Introducing the SBI Magazine. Read in-depth stories written by award-winning journalists about how your peers have overcome their problems to make the numbers. When you need more than a tweet, social post, or blog article, turn to the SBI Magazine. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com to subscribe.
Welcome back. My name is Greg Alexander, and I am the CEO of SBI. My guest today is Elisa Fink, the CMO at Tableau. Today we are discussing how a CMO can set his or her company up for success by producing a steady stream of high-quality content. We're using SBI's revenue growth methodology to do it, and specifically pages 124 and 125 if you're following along at home. Before the break, we were discussing the content goals for the marketing and sales team and how her buyer consumes content. And during this segment, we're going to hear from her about how to determine what content we have and what content we need. So my next question for you is this whole topic of a content audit. Do you perform a content audit, and do you do so on a regular basis? What are your thoughts on that?
Great question. We have audited our content several times. I think time gets away from us before we make it a very regular thing, but there are some extenuating circumstances that do force you into it. So, for example, we're reviewing our website right now, and so we're doing a massive content audit about like what content ought to be carried forward, what content ought not to be carried forward. Now, the other thing we do know, though, that it kind of makes it a little easy for us to almost be on top of the audit, so to speak, from a day-to-day basis, is that we track what people are looking at through Google Analytics and through other techniques we have, and we're very analytical. And so at any day, any moment, I can literally go into a dashboard and find out what piece of content has generated the most activities, the most views, how many times has it been used, has it been used recently, what kind of people looked at it, what kind of customers looked at it, so that at any one time we're pretty on top of the things people like that they really pay attention to are these things. The things that actually generate leads, that generate high quality leads. We can also determine that from our content. So the bad content, the top content, we keep track of dates. So the top content, the upper half of the content will be like, wow, you know what? This is a great piece of content and it hasn't been updated in X number of months or what have you. We should update it. We should update it because it's popular and it's good, and we should. People want to read about it and they want to see it. It's been getting good engagement. Bottom stuff that doesn't perform so well. Sometimes it's because it's late in the sales funnel, so we do keep track of that. We don't just throw out a piece of content or get rid of it because it doesn't have a lot of views. Sometimes very high-value content that is late in the sales funnel doesn't get a huge amount of views because there's just not that many people because it's pretty far along the funnel. Yep. So we do look at that kind of stuff, but it also helps us figure out, like, if it's at the bottom of the funnel and it's supposed to be if it's at the bottom of the list of views and it's supposed to be a top of funnel piece of content, we know, you know what, get rid of it or don't update it or, you know, what have you. We're not going to recycle it. We're not going to use it. We're not going to do anything with it. Sometimes it's not well done, and so sometimes we'll look at the topic and say, gosh, the reason it's not doing well is because it's just not well done. Let's do it better. But often it kind of tells us, that's not really what we're gaining traction with. That's not really something people have questions about or want to hear about it from us. So let's rethink what we would do with this kind of content. So I guess in a lot of ways our content audit is almost on a regular basis, just because we're aware of what works and what doesn't. Constantly we're always looking at the analytics. But again, a formal content audit, we should probably be doing it a little more than we're doing it. Yeah. I would say at least annually. And again, some circumstances force you into it, like a website redo or update will force you into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get when you do a website overhaul, it's a great time to do a content audit for sure.
Yeah, and you realize, wow, how much content you've produced too. Yeah. You realize, like, wow, you know, there's a lot of content. So, you know, a lot of times we're not that worried about keeping content around that is getting a decent view, because from a search engine optimization perspective, you know, it really helps your site be more attractive to websites for long tail terms, to search engines, I'm sorry. Yep. Helps your site be more attractive so that your site is more authoritative, you're getting more attractive to you, you've got long tail terms that people are searching for, you're generating traffic. That's not a bad thing to have a lot of content that might not have a lot of views if people engage with it. So we don't get too hung up on, like, get the old content out, get the content that's not being well read off, because sometimes it's long tail terms in addition to deep in the funnel. Yep.
You know, since you're in the middle of a website project, I want to ask a question, which is around, you know, how you determine the information needs of your buyers. So you're probably going through wireframes and path to purchase analysis right now. So in terms of figuring out the information your buyers is interested in, how do you do that?
Boy, that's a great question. It's hard. I mean, we do spend a lot of time looking at when the content is being used by who and what stage the person is in at the time they used it. So we actually keep track of an individual's, what stage they're in the funnel, even if they're not even in an active sales funnel. So we know somebody's in, qualifying, or they're in an opportunity discovery mode, or there's some mutual interest and so on. So we can keep track of what stage they're in and what kind of content they're looking at to help us keep up with that, to know. We do sit down and map our content, like we sit down and, again, look at the personas, look at the stages along the journey. Do we have pieces that fit that persona for every piece of the journey? And what are those pieces? And then, so if you're an IT guy, or you're an analyst, or you're a C-level person, or what have you, your different kinds of personas we have, we want to make sure there's some really great content along every step of the journey for you. And again, we go back to our analytics. I mean, we go back to what's been popular and what's been used, and we will go ahead and consider that in trying to figure out where do we go next. Yep. And I guess the third thing is you're always trying to stay on top of trends and what's new information and what are the new needs that people have. What are their new questions? you can't always look at your analytical data, your old data, or even your historical behavior data, because there's new stuff happening every day. So you have to be on top. You have to have people in your industry that are curious about it, that work in the marketing department, that love the industry, are on top of trends, can speak to the trends, are keeping up with what's going on out there, so they can help create the kind of content and that really gets readers excited and learning about new stuff.
Yep. Some of my clients use a couple of tools to keep organized here. One is an editorial calendar, and the other is a production schedule. So do you use those tools? And if so, like, how do you create them? How do you use them, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. We do, actually. We do have an editorial calendar. In fact, we recently hired a full-on former journalist. About 6 or 8 months ago, we hired a journalist who is actually now we call her editorial director or editor, who helps keep all of us sort of clean and clear on what's the great content of our site, and then just keeping us out there as well with great pieces that she writes and creates. So we do keep an editorial calendar to help us in a very informal way, just in a spreadsheet, nothing too complicated on that. And then you mentioned, I'm sorry, second thing that also resonated with me.
Yeah, which is a production schedule. So you lay out
production schedule. Yes. Yeah. So our content team, which is primarily of folks in our product marketing team, they definitely, our head of product marketing keeps a production schedule of like, okay, what are we producing when, where, what's it going to take? Is it something we do internally? Do we need to contract with an outside thought leader? Is this something that has to go into heavy production like a video or that kind of stuff? And keeps track of when we're doing all that stuff and what stage it's in and when we can expect it. So we do keep track of our content schedule. And then certain other things like like a release of software. A new release of Tableau will generate its own need for its own special content around that release and around that date. So we'll also keep special calendars oriented to our release schedule of our software to make sure that when we introduce a new feature, not just that we're explaining it, but also what are the business cases that you would use it? How would you use something like Tableau's level of detail calculations, a special way of doing calculations that normally would need a programmer now? You could just do drag and drop. Well, we got to educate people on that and help them understand the circumstances they'd use that. So there's a calendar that goes into play around releases as well. Yeah. So that's another angle of how we keep up with our content.
So there's a couple of things that you mentioned there I just want to put an exclamation point on for the audience. First, hire a journalist. I mean, it seems obvious, and sometimes people talk about it, but they don't do it. So compliments to you folks for doing that. Why hire a journalist? A journalist knows how to tell stories.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you just talk to your buyers about your product, and it can get a little boring, right? So storytelling is a trained and learned skill, and journalists go to school for that. So I encourage all of you watching and listening right now to consider that. And then the other thing that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting, which I haven't heard a lot of, and that is the calendar and the production schedule is owned by product marketing.
Yep.
That's very interesting to me. So tell me why you made that decision.
Well, actually, our product marketing team is quite large, and they produce probably 80% of our content.
Oh, wow.
I'd say. Yeah, because they're very informed they're very outward bound, they're very outward looking to customers and prospects. They're very aware of what's going on out in the industry, and they're also very much in touch with our customers who are using Tableau, and we have a very passionate and vocal, we're very lucky to have a very passionate and vocal customer base. And so they have access to the stories, to the information, and to the customer perspective. And so they are creating amazing content, and in the context, of course, of our product, but not always just putting our product first, because they know that if we can educate people and help them learn and help them do the kinds of things we enable, that the product comes through shining, and people appreciate that. We don't put so much faith in data sheets and brochures at all. I can't even think the last time we used really a data sheet or a brochure or any content like that. Yeah. So our product marketing team really is active, very active in producing useful content about our industry and about what we do and how we help people, but about our customers are helping themselves using our products. And so we find that that's the most effective way, because in effect, that's the best way to market your products too, right? It's like,
Oh, yeah.
don't let me list my features for you. I mean, there's a need for that, but that's not really what gets you using a product or wanting to buy a product. It's really like, what's it going to enable me to do? How's this going to make my life better?
Yeah.
How's it going to make my job easier? Show me, tell me. What are other people doing with it?
Yeah.
What do I need to stay on top of? So product marketing and content marketing, I think, are just very, very
hand in hand,
aligned and similar.
Yeah, they really are. You said something there that I think is great. I mean, we tell people all the time that your best sales force is your customers.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
If
and
they're
we
happy,
are blessed with a wonderful customer base, and we've always, for a long time, we've recognized that it's really, our brand is really very people-centric and very customer-centric. As what they can say about Tableau is so much more real, more authentic, and better often than what we can write or say about Tableau.
Yeah.
So we love to share their stories. We love to put them at the center of the story because it's real life, and it's as a buyer, I can relate to another person who's using your product. That helps me really understand what I'm going to get out of it. And so we often put our customers at the center of our stories, and including our data stories and our journalism stories as well, as you mentioned.
All right, we need to take another quick break. But if you are enjoying this podcast, you're going to want to listen to the Greg Head podcast. Greg is the CMO of Infusionsoft. And it's relevant to this conversation because he's also leading marketing inside of a very fast-growing software firm who has been through the experimentation stage of content marketing and is doing a lot of things really well. So let's take a quick short break to let the audience know how to get a copy of that episode, but stick around and we'll be right back.
Do you have too many things to do and not enough time to do them? Is finding time to learn best practices almost impossible? The SBI Podcast is your solution. Turn time spent exercising, commuting, and traveling into productive learning time with a subscription to the SBI Podcast. SBI Podcast listeners get unique insight into real-world sales and marketing issues through interviews with your industry peers every week. Find us on iTunes by searching for Sales Benchmark Index Podcast and subscribe today.
Okay, welcome back. My name is Greg Alexander, and I am the CEO of SBI, and my guest today is Elisa Fink, the CMO of Tableau. Today we are discussing how a CMO can set his or her company up for success through content marketing. And we're using SBI's revenue growth methodology to do it. If you're following along at home, I'm talking about pages 124 of 125 of this year's report, titled How to Make Your Number in 2016. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report to get a copy. Before the break, we were discussing content audits, editorial calendars, and production schedules. During this segment, Elisa is going to share with us her trigger events, content distribution, promotion, and testing. So, Elisa, let me ask you a question. Trigger events, and I'm going to just briefly describe this term. I know you probably know what it is, but some listening, it may be new to them, is the event that takes place that pushes a prospect into the market for your product or service. And it's essential to content marketing because when somebody has this event, it could be anything, maybe an acquisition, maybe an IT outage or whatever, and they go into the market, they're going to go to a search engine, they're going to type in their event, and you want your content to show up there because that person is most likely to be actively looking for a solution at that time. But categorizing and understanding what these trigger events are really hard. So my question to you is what are the trigger events that put a prospect into the market for your products, and how did you learn about them?
Well, that's a great question. One of the ways we learned about them is definitely we all experience probably the most common trigger event, which is the frustration that somebody has when they have a question and they know the data exists in their organization and they know they could get at it, but they don't have the tool to do it, and they're frustrated and Excel doesn't work anymore. So we know this because it's a very common trigger event for our industry. In fact, I was a customer before I joined the company, and that was my trigger event. I couldn't do what I needed to do, and Excel wasn't cutting it, and that turned me right, like you said, to the search engine, and I pretty much, typed in what I needed to type in and found Tableau. So,
do you remember what you typed in?
That's a really common trigger event.
Do you remember? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you remember exactly what you typed in?
I think I typed in, I want to say, at the time I was such a huge user of Excel. I want to say, I think I typed in Excel add-in or something like that. It was something like that. I was definitely about trying to, it might have been pivot table or crosstab, massive data, something like that, and Tableau kind of turned up, and I was like, what is this? And literally 20 minutes later, I had it installed and had my answer on 50 million rows of data that I just, obviously Excel, you could not read that. So it turned me into a believer instantly. So we definitely, that's probably our most common trigger event. Other trigger events are things like when people get a report, a standard report. We also see this a lot, business report or SQL reporting, and they just can't make sense of it, or they just can't do what they need to do. And the reason we know some of these trigger events is because we know what they type in search engines, common things, So we know that's another one that people get pretty frustrated with, particularly on an IT basis. We also see, actually we're lucky in that another pretty large trigger event for us is actually people seeing someone else having done something with Tableau, and they're like, where'd you get that? How did you do that? How'd you do that so fast? We've been asking that question, for a while, and we haven't had answers to it. No. So we'll see that a lot, too, that people have heard of us but don't know us at all. They'll totally misspell the name or what have you, but they've heard of us. So trigger events like that are easy for us to identify. Sometimes we'll see a big trigger event around a piece of news about in an industry about someone who's been successful using data or driving data transformation or data culture changes. Those are fewer and far between, but sometimes very significant, because sometimes that leads you to the management team or VP level or C-level people that are looking for data transformation, and they've seen the case studies or they've read something in some magazine like Harvard Business Review or what have you, and they want the same for their organization. Sometimes that's a big trigger event as well. But
Great
sure, on a
examples.
day-to-day basis, it's sort of that frustration is the thing that really triggers people.
Yeah, so great examples. So again, those for listening and watching at home, challenge yourself right now. Do you have, if I asked you that question cold, like I just did Elisa, who I did not provide the questions ahead of time to, could you answer me? Do you really know what the trigger events are? And then more importantly, if I went and typed in those terms into the search engine, is your content going to show up on the first page? If it isn't, then you're going to miss the opportunity to represent your products and services, your solutions to my frustration. If it is, I might stumble into you and become your customer. So that's the whole idea around understanding trigger events. Let's take it to the next level, Elisa, which is content distribution. So how do you distribute your content? It seems like there's so many channels today. How do you choose which content to which channel?
That's a great question, because there are so many alternatives. All of the social media have just brought a new level of opportunities to distribute content. Of course, traditional paid sources are, part and parcel necessary. We're constantly testing and holding up a mirror to our analytics and what we're doing to see, hey, did this new channel work? Was this the right content? Was this the right piece of content for that channel given their audience? It's really important to match your message and your content to the audience, of course. You can't just blanket the same thing out to everyone. So we're pretty sensitive to trying to make sure, hey, this channel is very IT-centric, so we need to distribute some of our IT-oriented content, helping IT make more sense of data, helping other people in their organizations make sense of data. How can they, break their backlog of reporting, deluge or whatever. So we're very, we try to be really smart about the right piece of content to the right channel. But we are constantly testing new channels, new media channels, because you just have to be where they are, where the readers are, where the participants are. Certainly, again, search engine marketing, search engine optimization is huge. We have to make our website attractive to search engines because people are searching for certain terms, and you've got to make your site turn up at the right times. We do a lot of paid search and paid display advertising as well to get our stuff out there. And then, of course, the social stuff is fantastic. We love the personal nature of sharing. Our sales reps are engaged in sharing. We share a lot. We do sponsored posts and paid tweets and all that kind of good stuff too, because that can get some activity as well. So we'll try anything that's on brand. Of course, it's got to be an on-brand channel. We'll try a lot of different things to find out where we're going to get the best response with the right piece of content, because we're just not afraid to get out there. We're pretty heavily oriented to being a demand generation centric organization in terms of delivering activity, leads, and customer engagement to our sales team. That's our job, and we look to do that. And so we will test a lot of things to figure out what works best.
So you talked about testing there, which is actually my next question, and you just discussed for the audience how you test content through channel. If I define testing a little bit more broadly, are there any other things you test other than channel?
We test. Well, we test a lot. We test our emails, we test our images, our subject lines, our content, our calls to action. Our website is in a constant state of testing. We are constantly, our search engine, our SEO guy, our team of folks who work on the optimization for the website are constantly testing ways to make offers and content and colors and buttons, and that's the trite stuff. But, what is the format of a page? What's the length? How much content? What will they read? What headline works? We're constantly testing. Where do you put different sort of calls to action? Do you repeat it above the fold? How many times? That kind of. We're constantly doing testing. It's just a great way to optimize your marketing. And you know what? The other reality is you're never done, because people's behaviors change, technology changes, people start using your website a little differently, and so you're constantly in a constant state of trying to upgrade and improve the performance of your assets, your content assets, and your website. And we'll do as much testing as we can on our website, but also through our outbound activities like our email and our other offers. And then we are constantly trying to test, like, what's the right content for the right channel? What about this channel with this content versus this other channel with the same piece of content? What about, so we're constantly trying to look at what worked and what doesn't work, so that we can, again, optimize and get the best, the most bang for our buck, and the right people engaged with Tableau.
Yeah. If we were in front of each other right now, you'd be happy, because I have a smile on my face at the moment.
I do too.
I'm so pleased with your answer, because I asked you a question about testing, and in 3 minutes you rattled off 25 tests that you're running right now. And
we do run a lot of tests.
I'm so happy, because this is the great thing about the era of marketing that we're in. There's no excuse not to test.
Yeah.
You can test everything.
It's amazing. I was at somewhere, I was meeting with somebody, and they were like, what's the best thing about, the most amazing thing that's happening in marketing right now? And I was like, the most amazing thing is the range of possibilities.
Yeah.
Things that you imagined 5 years ago, 2 years ago, that you were like, wow, what if? Now you can. It's like the range of possibilities it's incredible. It's kind of overwhelming, but I always tell people, my team and other folks, just get started. You just got to get started. Don't think you got to design the perfect test with a 64 cell matrix and blah blah blah. No, just test the subject line. Send this to 10,000 people and send that to 10,000, or send it to 200 and send it to another 200. Whatever. Just get started, because you'll get more sophisticated as you go, and then these range of possibilities that seem so overwhelming will actually start to become within your grasp, and you can start doing cool stuff. We're not even close to the limits, and it just makes marketing exciting and fun, and it's great to work with our sales team, because they're great partners with us, and we are great partners to them, and we're aligned to the same goal. And so it's fun to do these things. It makes your job interesting and fun and engaging.
Great. All right, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, Elisa and I will discuss what to do next if you're a CMO looking to develop a process to produce compelling content consistently. If you like listening and watching this podcast and want access to more peer-driven best practices, check out our blog, and here's how to subscribe.
Each day, you receive hundreds of emails, tons of text messages, countless telephone calls, and sit in too many meetings. How do you find ideas to make the number with all this noise? The SBI blog filters all this nonsense for you and presents only first-rate ideas to make the number. Simplify your life. Subscribe to one blog and read the best content. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com and subscribe today.
Welcome back, everybody. Elisa, I'm now going to ask you to package this up into a call to action. And nobody knows how to create a call to action better than you.
Oh, no, I don't know.
So if you were standing on the set right now and you were looking at the camera, I would like you to speak directly to the audience. Mm-hmm. And I want you to give them 1 to 3 things that you would do immediately following this show to develop a scalable content marketing process.
Okay, 1 to 3 things. Number 1 is know your audience and know what you're trying to accomplish with them. Number 1. So know the number of segments you're trying to go after. Pick the most important segments. Don't go after more than a few. Know what they need. Know what they want to know. Know what you can uniquely bring them. And be really clear about what you're trying to accomplish. So that's number 1, is just really understand what you're trying to accomplish with who. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to learn? Who are they? And keep it, pretty limited. Don't go after, the whole market. Go after the most productive segments for your organization. Just know that. Number 2 is then just get started. Don't be shy or worried that you're not covering the entire market or that you don't have the perfect thought leader for every piece of content that you want to produce, or you can't afford fancy videos and stuff. Just think guerrilla-like. Think like guerrilla. Think like, how could you get this done with the limited resources? What's the most effective use? Make your best estimate. You're not going to be right, but you're going to learn a ton, and you're going to be able to improve upon things. And so I guess my third piece of advice was, don't ever think it's over. It's never over. It's never done. It's always a cycle of constant, measurable improvement. So you're first, picking the right audience, knowing what they're supposed to do, getting started, just doing it, and then doing it again and doing it again until you just keep improving. Again, you're never really done because the market changes and there's always something to improve on, but that's okay. Don't be bitter to yourself if it didn't go perfectly. You learned, fix it, and move on to the next thing. Just keep going at it because it's a fun journey. Content marketing, I think, has made marketing more interesting. It's made it more fun to engage with customers. You're not constantly rehashing, driving the product features or your product down their throats. It's no longer like that. It's a conversation, and that's what content marketing enables. It enables you to have authentic, credible and important conversations with the right people who are interested in your product. And so think of it in that way, an ongoing conversation, and just get started because you're going to get better and better at it and be more effective over time.
So great advice. So let me take a shot at it. For what it's worth, I'll offer my thoughts to the audience. So what does this all mean to you? So here's what I would tell the marketing audience out there as well as the sales audience. Your audience is ignoring advertising more and more. Print ads as a percentage of publications are down. Television ads can be skipped via your DVR. Radio is a satellite subscription now versus ad-supported mostly. And pay-per-click is so competitive now that to win in this area, you need a budget the size of Fort Knox to own a keyword or a phrase. So how can you, as a marketer, reach your audience and get your products and services in front of them? So the answer is content marketing. This is why you care. It's the best alternative to advertising. So if you don't have a huge ad budget, get going on content marketing. If you want to make sure you get this right, get a copy of this year's research report, which I keep talking to you about, but it's so helpful to you. It's called How to Make Your Number in 2016, salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report. If you feel you might not have an effective content marketing process and you want one, You can have one of our experts lead you through a workshop, which will detail you how to do this. Go to the same website, salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 workshop, and you can request a visit from one of our team. Elisa, I want to thank you for letting me put you on the spot. You were an absolute fantastic guest.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure, and it's like if just like I said, just people just get started and have fun and be passionate and believe in what you're doing, because you're doing good stuff, and that's the fun part. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Well, you were inspirational. I also want to thank you, our audience, for tuning in. This show has become very popular. In fact, it's not uncommon now for each of our episodes to get downloaded over 20,000 times, which in the little niche that we play in, those are really big numbers. And with this popularity comes the ability to get great guests like the one that we had today. So I thank you all for tuning in, and I wish you much success as you try and make your number.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on SBI services, case studies, the SBI team and how we work, or to subscribe to our other offerings, please visit us at salesbenchmarkindex.com.